They told me it's too risky when I asked for $70,000, 0 cents to start the company I'd been planning for years, the one I'd saved, researched, and built pitch decks for. They said they couldn't gamble family money on a dreamer. I accepted it. Until 1 week later, I found out they handed $725,000, 0 cents, almost 11 times what I asked for, to someone who didn't even have a business plan. And that was the moment everything in me snapped. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments, and I will give you a heart. I remember the exact moment the ground shifted beneath me. It wasn't dramatic, no slammed doors, no screaming match. Nothing you'd expect from the kind of betrayal that rearranges the shape of your entire life. It was quiet, soft-spoken, almost polite. I was sitting at the dining table, laptop open, slides ready, heart pounding like a drum hammered by hope. Months of planning sat in that pitch deck. Market research, cost analysis, projections, competitor breakdowns, growth timelines, everything a serious founder would prepare. I wasn't asking for a miracle. I was asking for a chance. My parents sat across from me, nodding along as I explained how the startup would work. A subscription-based digital platform with a hybrid service model, low overhead, high demand, scalable within 18 months if executed well. We just need $70,000, 0 cents to get the prototype and marketing push off the ground, I said, keeping my voice steady. I can handle the rest. My mom leaned forward, hands folded like she was about to pray. Sweetheart, she said gently, it's just very risky. That word, risky, slid across the table like a knife disguised in velvet. My dad added, you're talented, but starting a company, competing in the market? What if it doesn't work? We can't throw money into something that might fail. Something that might fail. As if success was ever handed out without uncertainty, as if every safe investment they had made wasn't born from someone else's risk. I swallowed the sting and nodded. It's okay, I understand. And I did, or at least I told myself I did. Because in that moment, I believed them. I believed the people who raised me saw something I didn't. Maybe I was naive, maybe I was too ambitious, maybe wanting more was a flaw they'd always seen coming. I went upstairs that night and opened my laptop again, determined to find investors elsewhere, determined to push forward without family backing. I didn't cry. Not yet. That came later. 3 days passed, then a week. Life moved like normal, or so I thought. It was a Saturday morning when the truth stumbled into my world like a drunk actor missing their cue. My sister Maya barged into the house carrying a giant whiteboard and 3 shopping bags full of notebooks. Big news, she announced, her voice theatrically loud for someone whose biggest responsibility was remembering to feed her goldfish. My mum clapped her hands like she'd just heard angels singing. We're so proud of you, Maya puffed her chest. Well, yeah. Not every day someone gets $725,000, 0 cents to start their dream. I froze. My brain didn't process it at first. $725,000? 0 cents? For what? And then Maya said the line that still feels like a bruise every time I remember it. I can't believe Mom and Dad believed in my idea so much. I barely even had a plan. She laughed, Mom laughed, Dad laughed. And I sat there like the room had turned to ice. My mother noticed my expression and said, "Oh, honey, don't look like that. Maya's project is different. Maya wanted to start a creative lifestyle studio, which from everything I overheard that morning was basically a colourful room where she planned to paint mugs and host vibe-only journaling circles. No business model, no structure, no pitch, no revenue path, just vibes. And $725,000, 0 cents. I felt my pulse climbing into my throat. So, I said carefully, you gave her the money because... Why exactly? My dad cleared his throat. Her business is less risky. Less risky? A non-existent business with no plan was less risky than a startup with actual market research and projections? The logic was nonsense and they knew it. My mum added, we just want to support her confidence. She's delicate. Delicate. That was the moment a silent, electric rage lit inside me. Not the screaming kind, but the cold, almost scientific kind that makes every detail suddenly matter. I had spent months working on something real, something scalable, something measurable. I had proof. She had enthusiasm. And enthusiasm got $750,000. I managed to excuse myself before the pressure in my chest gave me away. I walked out the front door and didn't stop walking until the cold outside sharpened my breath. I called Lucas, my best friend, the only person who knew how badly I wanted this startup. When he picked up, I didn't even say hello. They gave her $725,000. I whispered, 725. There was a long pause on the line. For her mug painting dream? For her mug painting dream. Lucas exhaled slowly, like he was afraid his words might set off an explosion. If you were in your own movie, this would be the part where you either fall apart or start building something that makes them regret everything. I didn't answer. Not because I disagreed, but because I felt something shift inside me. Something quiet, powerful, and irreversible. Betrayal doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it looks like a check with someone else's name on it. Sometimes it looks like the people you trusted telling you that your dreams are too risky while handing someone else an entire kingdom built on nothing but confidence. That night, I sat in my room with every light off, staring at the glow of my laptop screen. I reread my pitch. I looked at my numbers, my projections, my research. I realized something I should have seen years ago. They never saw me. Not really. Not my potential. Not my intelligence. Not my drive. Not my ambition. They saw the responsible one, the planner, the backup, the steady daughter who would always figure things out on her own. Maya was the dreamer, the emotional one, the fragile one who needed nurturing. They invested in fragility and expected strength to fund itself. And here's the part that might sound selfish, but maybe you'll understand me. If you were me, watching your family invest nearly $1 million into someone who didn't even have a plan while telling your dream was too risky, would you still call that a family? Or would you call it what it really was? A warning. The next morning, I woke up with that same hollow ache in my chest. The kind that doesn't throb or burn, but sits cold and heavy like a stone lodged under your ribs. I thought sleep would settle it, numb it, maybe even make last night feel exaggerated. But betrayal has a way of replaying itself with HD clarity. Every word my parents said looped in my mind like a sarcastic narrator mocking me. It's too risky. We can't gamble family money. Her idea is different. She's delicate. Delicate. I swear that one word could have started a war. I walked downstairs to the kitchen, moving carefully, the way you do when you're trying to control the storm inside you. My dad was pouring coffee, humming like a man who hadn't detonated a bomb in the middle of his daughter's dreams. My mum flipped pancakes, cheerful, humming too. Maya scrolled through Pinterest boards titled things like studio aesthetic and manifesting my rich artist life. She had no idea that every scroll was slicing deeper into the bruises I carried. My mum looked up. Morning, sweetheart. We saved you pancakes. Like nothing happened. Like they hadn't thrown a grenade in my direction and walked away smiling. I sat down quietly. What's the budget for Maya's studio? I asked, voice steady enough to scare even myself. My mum brightened. Oh, well, after renovations, initial inventory, equipment marketing, and the launch event, probably around $600,000. 0 cents. We kept the rest as flexibility for emergencies. They had set aside more in emergency funds for Maya's vibes-only art room than the entire amount I'd asked for. I didn't respond. I simply nodded, cutting into a pancake I couldn't taste. It's strange how anger can be silent. Rage doesn't always look like shouting. Sometimes it looks like a girl calmly slicing into breakfast while imagining ripping her entire life out from its roots. Maya smirked a little, twirling her hair. I can't wait for the launch party. We're hiring a micro-influencer to host. She's going to live stream it. I didn't break. I didn't even blink. But inside, something finally snapped its last thread. I pushed my plate away and stood. I'm going out, I said. My mum called after me. Be home for dinner. We're celebrating Maya's entrepreneur journey. Entrepreneur, right. I walked out without answering. Lucas picked up on the first ring. I need to get out of here, I said. He heard everything I wasn't saying. I'm coming, he replied, no questions asked. Minutes later, we were in his car, and I finally exhaled for the first time in hours when he parked by the river, our usual escape spot. He looked at me with a softness that threatened to undo all the composure I was clinging to. Talk to me, he said. Tell me what's happening in your head. The truth? Chaos, anger, hurt. And beneath all that, humiliation so sharp it could cut glass. They don't see me, I whispered. They don't see my work, my research, my potential. They think I'm the safe one, the one who doesn't need help, the one who will figure everything out alone. Lucas stayed quiet, letting me unravel. They gave her $725,000. I repeated as if saying it again would help my mind finally accept the absurdity. And they told me no, because I'm too risky. Lucas clenched the steering wheel. You're the least risky person I know, he muttered. You're a storm disguised as a spreadsheet. I let out a humorless laugh. Storms get noticed, I don't. There was a pause where the world seemed to hold its breath. Then Lucas looked at me. Really looked. So what now? He asked. Are you going to let them write your story for you? Are you finally going to create something that makes them choke on their own choices? I didn't answer right away, because in that moment, I realized something sacred, something dangerous. You can't control who your family chooses to invest in, but you can control who you choose to become. Later that afternoon, after hours of driving aimlessly, clearing my head and letting the humiliation turn into clarity, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I walked into my parents' house with calmness that didn't match the fire inside me. Maya was on the couch, sketching some pastel monstrosity she was calling her logo. My mum and dad were discussing equipment quotes from companies they didn't even know how to evaluate. And me? I stood there like the ghost of consequences they never expected. My dad looked up first. Everything okay, honey? Yes, I said. I just realised something. My mum smiled, relieved. What's that? The best investments, I said slowly, are the ones people never see coming. They exchanged confused glances. Maya blinked, lost as usual. What does that mean? I smiled. A small, chilling, controlled smile. You'll see. And here's the thing. I wasn't trying to scare them. I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I was simply done. Done waiting for their approval. Done asking for permission. Done believing their judgment was the ceiling of my potential if they couldn't recognize the difference between a real business and a paint and pray studio. That was their failure, not mine. If you're in my shoes, dismissed, underestimated, replaced by someone who didn't even want what you wanted, what would you have done? Would you beg for their validation? Or would you take the betrayal, turn it into fuel and build something so big they'd have no choice but to see you? Because that was the moment I decided I wasn't going to be the forgotten daughter anymore. I was going to become the storm they never saw coming. The next 48 hours felt like watching my own life from outside my body, like I was floating somewhere above the chaos, taking notes, memorizing every detail with a kind of cold clarity that only heartbreak can sharpen. Because betrayal doesn't just hurt, it reprograms you. It shifts something in your wiring. It turns you into someone who is suddenly done accepting crumbs. By Monday morning, I wasn't mourning anymore, because I was strategizing. I woke up earlier than I had in months, with a fire in my chest, new enough to scare me. I opened my laptop, stared at my pitch deck, the same one they dismissed as too risky, and for the first time I didn't wonder if it was good enough. I wondered why I ever needed their approval in the first place. I rewrote the entire deck from scratch, sharper, cleaner, smarter. I replaced every soft promise with a hard projection, every maybe with a measurable outcome. By the time Lucas came over, I was halfway through my 12th slide. He leaned against the doorway, raising an eyebrow. You look terrifyingly focused. Good, I said without looking up. That's the goal. He walked in, scanned the screen and whistled. You're rebuilding the whole thing. I'm building it for myself this time, I said. not for people who never believed I could do it. Lucas smiled. Proud, impressed, maybe even a little scared. That's the version of you the world isn't ready for. I didn't respond, because I wasn't doing this for the world either. I was doing it for me. For the girl who stayed quiet when she was overlooked. For the daughter who played the responsible role until it suffocated her. For the woman who deserved better than being told she was too risky by people who thought $725,000 0 cents was a reasonable investment for someone who couldn't even commit to watering a houseplant. But then, just as I was rewriting slide 18, my phone lit up with a message. Dinner tonight, mandatory. The word sent a chill down my spine. I showed it to Lucas. He exhaled sharply. They know you're pulling away, he said. That's why they suddenly want to talk. I shrugged, pretending I didn't care. Let them talk. I'm done being the soft one. Are you ready for whatever they're about to say? He asked. No, I admitted. But I'm not walking in as the same person they walked all over either. When I arrived at the house, the atmosphere was wrong, tense, quiet, heavy. Not that we're thrilled about Maya's whimsical studio launch energy they had been radiating before. My dad sat stiffly at the table, hands clasped, jaw tight. My mum paced behind her chair, avoiding my eyes. Maya looked smug and oblivious, a mix she perfected years ago. Hi, she chirped, waving a glitter-covered pencil. I was just working on studio merch ideas. I blinked. Merch? Yeah, she said proudly. Bookmarks, stickers, mood journals, t-shirts that say trust the magic. Thoughts? I wanted to say, my thoughts are that a toddler with crayons has more structure than your business plan. But I stayed silent. My dad cleared his throat. Sit down. We need to discuss something. His tone was unnervingly formal, like this was a board meeting he wished he wasn't attending. I sat. He slid a document across the table. A receipt. A massive one. Equipment purchases, studio lease, renovation deposits, branding consultation fees, my mum swallowed. We may have overextended ourselves. I stared at the numbers. Overextended how much? My father ran a hand over his face. We didn't realise how quickly costs would add up. We thought Maya's project would be simple, my mother added. It turned out more complicated. They had spent nearly $500,000 in 10 days and were shocked it didn't magically turn into a successful business. Maya twirled a lock of hair. I didn't know paintbrushes were so expensive. Paintbrushes! $500,000, 0 cents gone, and she blamed paintbrushes. My dad leaned forward. We need your help, he said. For a moment, I thought I misheard. My help? You're good with business, he said. We were hoping you'd step in, consult, maybe take over the financial side. So let me get this straight, I said slowly. You told me investing in my startup was too risky, but now that Maya's idea is failing, you want me to fix it? My mom softened her voice like she thought sweetness could erase hypocrisy. Oh, honey, it's different. Guitar Systems family. So was my startup, I said. My dad straightened, defensive. We thought Maya needed more support. She's not as grounded as you. There it was, the truth. They didn't invest in the better idea. They invested in the weaker child. Strength punished, fragility rewarded. I looked at Maya. She wasn't even listening. She was doodling logos. Doodles worth more than my pitch deck, apparently. My father tried again. We need to stabilize the studio. It's hemorrhaging money. We need someone with your skills. You want me to fix something you never believed I could build, I said. And now that your golden project is sinking, you want to throw me onto the ship and hope I can steer it? My mum whispered. Please. Maya rolled her eyes. It's not even that serious, she said. The studio just needs better management. I tilted my head. So you want me to rescue a project that got $725,000 0 cents in 10 days when you wouldn't give me $70,000 0 cents after 6 months of planning? My dad looked at me helplessly. We made a mistake. Which one? I asked. Giving her the money or refusing me? Neither of them answered. And that silence told me everything. I stood, calm, controlled, dangerous. I'm not fixing this, I said. Maya gasped. But you're the business one. Yes, I replied, which is why I'm building my own startup, without people who only respect me when they're drowning. My mother reached for my hand. I stepped back. If you were in my place, I asked quietly, would you save a family who burned your dream and handed the ashes to someone else? Her silence was louder this time, heavier, honest. I walked out. I didn't slam the door, I didn't look back, I didn't need to. Because for the first time, they were the ones left sitting in the wreckage, not me. And as I got into my car, one thought hit me with electric certainty. This wasn't the end of their lesson, it was only the beginning. The truth is, I didn't expect things to spiral as fast as they did. But maybe that's what happens when a family builds their lives on denial. They don't see the cracks until the whole house starts sinking. And in my parents' case, the sinking turned into a full force collapse. The next week was a blur of chaos they tried desperately to hide. Whispered arguments behind closed doors, tense phone calls, sharp silences. Maya pacing the living room like an actress rehearsing a meltdown she couldn't quite commit to. And me? They avoided me completely, because people who know they're wrong can't stand the person who saw through them first. But life has a cruel sense of timing. 3 days after I walked out on them, I got a call from a number I didn't recognise. Hello? Is this Miss Anderson? A polished voice asked. Yes, this is Harper and Rowan Commercial Leasing. We're calling regarding the property at 58 Rosewood Plaza. I frowned. I'm not renting any commercial property. We know, the woman said gently, but your parents listed you as the emergency co-signer. My stomach tightened. That cold metallic tightening your body does right before your world tilts. Co-signer for what? For the lease of your sister's studio, she explained. We're calling because the first payment didn't go through. I froze. Slowly. Completely. What? Your parents' account was declined, she continued. We attempted the secondary payment method. Your name, that was declined as well, so we need updated information. Maya, my parents, they had used my name on a contract I never saw for a business I wasn't part of. A business I refused to save. Remove my name immediately, I said. I did not authorize this. We'll issue a fraud inquiry form, she replied. But until it is resolved, you are still legally tied to... I hung up, I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything besides grab my keys and drive to my parents' house, like a storm in human form. The front door wasn't even locked. I threw it open so hard it slammed against the wall. My mum stumbled out of the kitchen, startled. Sweetheart, you used my name. My voice wasn't loud, it wasn't shaky. It was cold, controlled, slow. The kind of tone people hear right before everything inside them collapses. My dad appeared behind her. Let us explain. Explain what? I said, stepping forward. Explain how you signed my name on a lease for a studio I didn't approve. Explain how you tried to tie me financially to my sinking hobby project. Explain how you put my credit, my name, and my future on the line without telling me. My dad swallowed hard. Well, you didn't think it would be a big deal. Not a big deal, I laughed. The kind of laugh that sounds like it's breaking apart on the way out. A legally binding contract with my name on it. We thought you'd help us, my mom said weakly. You're always so responsible. Responsible, a curse disguised as a compliment. The road they loved to squeeze me into. I turned to Maya. She sat on the couch, hugging a pillow to her chest. Not crying, not apologising, just staring at me with the blank, stubborn entitlement of someone who's never had to face the consequences of anything. Did you know, I asked her, that they used my name? She shrugged. Shrugged. Dad said it didn't matter. He said you'd fix it when the time came. The room went silent, completely silent. My hands trembled, not with fear, but with a fury so sharp it felt like electricity under my skin. Fix it? I repeated slowly. Fix it? My dad stepped forward. You're the only one who understands finances. We counted on you. I stared at them, these people who were supposed to protect me. And all I saw were the contradictions, the excuses, the selfishness hidden under the mask of family love. You counted on me, I said quietly, but you didn't trust me. We made a mistake, my mom whispered. Just one mistake. One, my voice cracked, not in weakness, but in disbelief. You denied my dream. You funded hers. You dismissed my work. You tied my name to her failure. You risked my future to protect her incompetence. And you dare call it one mistake? Maya scoffed suddenly. Oh my God, you're being dramatic. Something inside me snapped. Say dramatic again, I said, stepping toward her. And watch how fast you learn what real consequences look like. My dad moved in between us. That's enough. You're right, I said, straightening. It is. I pulled out my phone. What are you doing? My mom asked. Calling the leasing office, I said, and the bank, and a lawyer, and anyone else I need to untangle myself from the mess you shoved me into. A lawyer? My dad repeated, horrified. You wouldn't involve outsiders in family affairs. You involved me, I said, without asking, without respecting me, without caring how it affected my life. Please, my mom begged. We'll pay it back. No, I said. You can't pay your way out of this. So what do you want? My dad whispered. I looked at them, and for the first time I realised I wasn't the broken one in this family. They were, and they had been for years. I want you to face the consequences you created, I said, without using me as your emergency exit. Their faces crumbled. Maya's eyes widened, not with remorse but fear. The delicious, overdue kind of fear, and I realised something dark, something true, something I didn't expect. I wasn't just going to protect myself anymore. I was going to let the truth burn everything they built on the backs of my silence. Because if you were me, betrayed, used, disrespected, and erased, wouldn't you finally stop being their safety net and watch what happens when they fall without you? I didn't sleep that night, not because I was heartbroken anymore. Heartbreak needs innocence, and mine had been stripped away so thoroughly that what remained wasn't fragile sadness, but a cold, calculating clarity. It was the kind of night where the air feels sharp, like the universe is waiting for you to make a decision that will alter every relationship in your life. I sat on my bed with my laptop open, not working on my startup, not checking emails, just rereading the fraud inquiry form. My name, my stolen signature, my parents' desperate attempt to bind me to their mistake. Every time I blinked, I saw Maya shrug, that careless, bone-deep entitlement that said, "You'll fix it. You always fix it." But maybe the most painful truth was this: they genuinely believed my life was theirs to use. And once that settles into your bones, you stop asking yourself what's right and start asking what's necessary. The next morning, I went straight to the leasing office. Harper and Rowan sat in a tall glass building that reflected sunlight in sharp shards, the kind of clean corporate building where lives smell like coffee and desperation. The woman from the phone, Harper herself, ushered me into her office. She was composed, elegant, and looked like she could smell dishonesty, the way sharks smell blood. "Ms. Anderson," she said warmly, "I review the documents. You did not sign this lease." "No," I replied. "I didn't." "And the signature?" I slid my real signature under hers. The difference was laughably obvious. She nodded. "Forgery is a criminal offence. Would you like to proceed legally?" I didn't answer immediately, because here's the truth. I didn't want to ruin my parents. I wanted them to understand, truly understand, that I wasn't their fallback plan. Not their spare daughter, not their emotional punching bag, not their financial seatbelt. "I want to separate my name from that contract," I said finally. "And I want it noted that any financial responsibility belongs solely to my parents." "We can make that happen," Harper said. "But there's something else you should know." She slid a folder across the desk. "Your parents are 3 months behind on another loan tied to their property. Their financial situation is complicated." Complicated? I could laugh. Of course it was complicated. When you pour $750,000 into your least responsible child pastel fever dream, complications grow like weeds. "Thank you," I said. "Please proceed." But when I walked out of the building, the truth hit me with brutal force. This wasn't just about the studio. My parents were drowning. And instead of admitting it, instead of asking for help, instead of apologizing, they tried to attach me to the sinking ship and hope I'd float. All of them. They weren't protecting Maya, they were using me, hoping I'd hold all their consequences like I always had. That's when something inside me turned cold. Not cruel, not malicious, just resolved. If they were going to treat me like a crutch, then they were going to learn what it felt like when the crutch steps out from under them. I went home, opened my laptop, and sent one email to the leasing office, formally requesting full separation. Then I sent another to a lawyer Lucas recommended, and a third to a small but rapidly growing tech incubator I'd been too scared to apply to before. And then I waited for the fallout. It came faster than I expected. That evening, my father stormed into my apartment. Not knocking, not calling first, just barging in like he still had authority in a life he no longer controlled. "How could you do that?" he barked. "How could you release yourself from the... Because I didn't sign it," I said calmly. "Because you stole my name," he paced, pulling at his hair. "Do you know what you've done?" "Yes," I replied. "I stopped you from dragging me down with you." My mother walked in behind him, eyes red, holding Maya's hand like they needed reinforcements. "You're tearing this family apart," she whispered. "No," I said, standing. "I'm just refusing to be the glue you expect me to be." "We needed your help," my dad shouted. "Maya needed your stability." "She needed discipline," I corrected. "She needed reality, but you chose comfort for her and responsibility for me." Maya scoffed, stepping forward. "I didn't ask to be saved. This is your fault for making it a big deal." The lack of remorse, the entitlement, the smugness. It was breathtaking. "They ruined your life?" she said. "Not mine." Something twisted inside me. "No, Maya," I said softly. "They ruined your future. I'm the one building mine." My dad slammed his fists against the table. "We sacrificed for you. You gambled with me," I said. "There's a difference." My mother finally broke. "Please, fix this for us." I shook my head slowly. "You taught me that risky investments aren't worth making. Remember?" They froze. I stepped closer, calm but unshakable. "So, tell me, why would I invest in a family who didn't invest in me?" No one spoke. My father's face crumpled, not from anger, but from realization. My mother started crying quietly. Maya looked stunned, almost frightened, like she was meeting me for the first time. Good, because she was. I picked up my keys. "I have a meeting," said, "with people who actually see my value." "You're choosing strangers over your family," my mother whispered. I stopped in the doorway. "I'm choosing myself." Their silence followed me all the way to the elevator, and as the doors closed, a final thought settled over me. Steady, certain, powerful. Maybe they never believed in me, but they were about to watch the world do it instead. When the elevator doors closed, I expected relief to hit me, some release, some quiet, some sense of freedom. But what washed over me instead was something colder, sharper, something almost metallic. Not guilt, not fear, but the awareness that my life had just split into two timelines. The one where I kept letting them use me, and the one where I finally walked away. I chose the latter. And once you walk away the right time, you never feel the urge to walk back. The incubator building was sleek. Glass walls, chrome accents, the smell of ambition humming through the air like electricity. For the first time in days, maybe weeks, I felt like I was in the right place. Like the world suddenly aligned into the shape it was meant to be. The coordinator, a sharp-eyed woman named Sienna, greeted me with a smile that felt real. "I've reviewed your application," she said. "Your concept is solid, more solid than most we see." My heart tugged at that. The way validation from a stranger hit deeper than approval from my family ever had. The numbers are strong, she continued. Your market analysis is precise. And your projected growth model? Impressive. She leaned back, studying me. Why didn't you apply sooner? I hesitated, but honesty came easier than expected. I was waiting for permission, I said. Sienna's eyes narrowed, not in judgment, but in recognition. Permission from whom? My family. She smiled, a small, sympathetic curve of the lips. Ah, the oldest obstacle in entrepreneurship. I let out a shaky breath. Not anymore. Good, she said, standing. Then let's give you something they can't ignore. The assessment process began. Interviews, strategy questions, prototype discussions. I felt alive, sharp, present, like my brain was firing on every cylinder, finally being used at full capacity. When I walked out an hour later, Sienna shook my hand firmly. You'll hear from us soon, she said. But for what it's worth, you belong here. I didn't cry until I got to the parking lot. Not because of sadness, but because someone finally said the words I'd been waiting to hear my whole life. You belong. The moment didn't last long. My phone lit up again, this time with a text from an unknown number. You should talk to your parents now. Before I could even process that, Lucas called. Where are you? He asked. The incubator. Don't go home, he said immediately. My stomach tightened. Why? Because your parents called me, he said. They're panicking. Something happened. What happened? Just come to my place. Trust me. My pulse spiked with that familiar mix of dread and adrenaline. The cocktail you feel when you know you're about to walk into something ugly. I drove straight to Lucas's apartment, barely remembering the turns. He opened the door before I even knocked. Sit, he said. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't calm. And Lucas was always calm. Tell me, I said. What happened? He handed me his phone. A message thread with my father. Dad, please tell her to come home. Dad, we need her. Dad, it's urgent. And then one more message, one that made my blood freeze. Dad, they're taking the studio. I blinked, confused. What do you mean, taking it? Lucas sat down beside me. The leasing office froze their contract after your fraud claim, and the bank rejected 2 more payments. They're in default. My heart sank, not for them, but because I already knew what came next. They're being evicted, Lucas said quietly. Equipment, inventory, everything seized. I didn't speak, not because I didn't understand, but because I did too well. Consequences had finally arrived. The family that told me I was too risky had placed a $725,000, 0 cents bet on Maya and lost. That's not the worst part, Lucas added. Then what is? He handed me another message. From his aunt, who worked at a local accounting firm. Your friend needs to know. The Andersons are in serious debt. The studio loan wasn't the only thing they took. My hands tightened around the phone. How much debt? Lucas hesitated. Hundreds of thousands. I swallowed hard. Not out of sadness, but out of the cold, startling realization that my parents weren't just careless. They were drowning long before the studio. And instead of telling me, instead of trusting me, they tried to latch onto me like a life raft. Do they know that I know? I asked. Not yet, Lucas said. They just think you're being stubborn. They forged my signature, I said. Lucas nodded. They don't understand consequences, not until they hit. And then something inside me, something I didn't know was still alive, flickered. Not pity, not forgiveness, but something heavier. If you don't confront this now, Lucas said, they will keep using you. Forever. I knew he was right. Painfully, undeniably right. But before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. Mum, please come home. We need to talk. Another message followed. Dad, they said if we don't make payment today, they'll involve collections. Then one more. Desperate, frantic. Dad, please, help us. I exhaled, a long, slow breath that felt like it came from the deepest part of me. You're going, aren't you? Lucas asked. Yes, I said, but not to save them. He searched my face. Then why? Because this time, I said quietly, grabbing my keys, they're going to hear the truth. Not the version that keeps them comfortable. The version that finally sets me free. Lucas nodded, pride flickering in his eyes. Want me to come? No, I said, opening the door. This is something I need to do alone. As I drove back to my parents' house, the streetlights flickering across my dashboard like silent witnesses, one question echoed through me. If you were me, standing at the edge of your family's collapse, holding the truth like a weapon, would you offer mercy, or would you finally let the fall happen? The street felt unnaturally quiet as I drove toward my parents' house, the kind of quiet that usually comes before a storm, or maybe the kind that comes after one when everything is already destroyed but no one has bothered to sweep up the pieces. I pulled into the driveway and sat there for a long moment, gripping the steering wheel, feeling the weight of years pressing against my ribs. Years of being the stable one, the dependable one, the one they leaned on without ever asking themselves whether it was fair. And now they wanted salvation from me. Again, only this time salvation had a price they never expected. When I finally opened the car door, the air felt cold enough to sting. I walked up the porch steps slowly, deliberately, as if each step was a question I already knew the answer to. My mother opened the door before I could knock. Her face was swollen from crying, her eyes bloodshot, her hands trembling. "Sweetheart," she whispered, voice cracking. "Thank God you're here." I stepped inside. The house looked different, smaller, darker, like the weight of their choices had collapsed the walls inward. My father was pacing in the living room, running his hands through his greying hair. Maya sat on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, mascara streaked down her face. She looked terrified, but not of losing the studio. No, she looked terrified of finally understanding she wasn't untouchable. "We're in trouble," my father said, voice raw. "Serious trouble." "I know," I replied. He blinked in shock, as if he expected me to scream or panic or crumble. But I didn't. I simply stood there, calm, cold, controlled. "They're taking the studio," he continued. "They're taking everything in it. And the bank, we're behind on more than we told you." "How much?" I asked. My mother burst into tears. My father swallowed hard. 217,000. Maya gasped softly, as if she hadn't even known the scale of the disaster she helped create. "You knew we were struggling," my dad said, voice trembling, "but we thought the studio might help us bounce back." "Bounce back?" I repeated, stunned, not by the situation, but by the delusion. "You gambled the house on Maya's unplanned, unresearched, unstructured hobby." Maya flinched. My mum sobbed harder. My dad dropped into a chair like the weight finally knocked him down. I stood there, and for a long moment no one spoke. The air felt thick with all the things they didn't want to admit. Finally, I broke the silence. "Why did you use my name?" My mother's face crumpled. "We thought," she whispered, voice shaking, "we thought you could handle it." "Handle what?" I asked sharply. "Being legally tied to a failing business, being responsible for debt I didn't make, being your emergency parachute?" "We were desperate," she cried. "We didn't know what else to do." "You could have asked me," I said. My father lifted his head, eyes hollow. "We were ashamed." That landed hard, sharp, honest, ugly. "You weren't ashamed when you forged my name," I said quietly. He looked down. "We never meant to hurt you." "But you did," I replied, "over and over again." "You didn't trust me with $70,000, but you trusted Maya with $725,000. And when her dream collapsed, you tried to tie the wreckage to me." Maya cried, wiping her face. "I didn't know," she whispered. I thought Mom and Dad were handling everything." I turned to her. "That's the problem, Maya. You never think, you coast, and they let you. Because it's easier to protect you than to hold you accountable." She sobbed harder. "I didn't mean to ruin everything." "But you did," I said. "And maybe it's time you learn what consequences feel like." My mother shook her head frantically. "Please," she begged. Please don't do this. We can fix it together. My father reached out a shaking hand. We need you, he whispered. You're the only one who can help us climb out of this. I took a step back. Why? Because I'm the responsible one? The dependable one? The one who always sacrifices? My mum nodded through tears. Yes. Something in me hardened. No, I said. Not anymore. My dad stood up abruptly. What does that mean? You're going to let us drown? I inhaled slowly. I'm not letting you drown. You jumped into the water without checking if you could swim. Where are your family? My mother cried. Family, I repeated softly. Family doesn't forge signatures. Family doesn't dismiss dreams. Family doesn't gamble your future without asking. Family doesn't ask for loyalty while asking none. They fell silent, completely, crushingly. And then, something unexpected happened. Maya stood, not defensively, not arrogantly, but with a quiet, shaking honesty I didn't recognize. I'll fix it, she whispered. My father turned sharply. Maya, no, she said, voice cracking. This is my fault. I ruined everything. I took money I didn't earn. I let you all spoil me into someone useless, and she pointed at me, crying. She should never have been dragged into this. My mother sobbed harder. My father's eyes filled with something I had never seen before. Shame mixed with helplessness. Maya stepped closer to me. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. And for a split second, I almost softened, but then I remembered the forged signature, the shrugged shoulders, the $725,000, the lies, the entitlement, the betrayal, the heartbreak, and the near conception of my future. I stepped back. Apology accepted, I said quietly, but forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. Maya nodded, crying harder. I know. My father's voice cracked. So, what are you going to do? I looked at all of them, the collapse, the consequences, the shattered illusions, and I realized something powerful. They didn't need me to save them. They needed me to stop letting them use me. I'm going to live my life, I said simply. And you're going to face yours. My mother collapsed into a chair. My father sat down slowly. Maya covered her face and I walked toward the door. My dad whispered, voice barely audible, "Are you leaving us?" I turned back. No, I said. You left me the moment you decided my worth was optional. Their faces broke and I stepped outside, breathing for the first time in years. But as the door closed behind me, a new thought crept in. Cold, dark, and unshakable. This wasn't the end. The real fallout hadn't even started yet, and when it did, every one of them would finally understand what it meant to lose the person they thought would always stay. I didn't cry when I left their house. I didn't tremble. I didn't slam the door or look back dramatically. I walked away like someone stepping over a line they should have crossed years ago. And the strange thing? It didn't feel like loss. It felt like oxygen finally returning to lungs that had been starving for years. But freedom comes with echoes, and that night the echoes arrived, all at once. Lucas had been waiting outside, leaning on his car with that worried look he gets when he knows I'm pretending to be tougher than I feel. How did it go? He asked gently. I didn't speak. I just got into the passenger seat, staring straight ahead with that numb, hard focus you get when you've finally stopped bleeding. That bad, he murmured. I exhaled slowly. They want me to rescue them, I said. Still, Lucas shook his head and started the engine. They're not used to you saying no. No, I said quietly. They're used to me disappearing so they can pretend their chaos is normal. The drive back to my apartment was silent. Not uncomfortable, just heavy, like the world was rearranging itself around a version of me they'd never imagined I could become. When we arrived, Lucas walked me to my door. Call me if you need anything, he said. You did the right thing. I nodded, but my mind was already drifting. Not to guilt, not to fear, but to a subtle, creeping realization that something deeper was unraveling. Half an hour later, my phone buzzed. Not from my parents, not from Maya, from Sienna, the incubator director. Sienna, are you available for a call? My pulse spiked. This wasn't supposed to happen so soon. I answered immediately. Hey, I said. Everything okay? Better than okay, she replied. We met after you left. Your pitch was strong, but your execution plan was stronger. The board wants you. I froze. Actually, froze. What? You're accepted, she said, voice bright, sharp, certain. Full mentorship, funding, guidance, resource access, and she paused. We're offering you something rare, priority consideration for seed funding once your prototype is complete. I sat down slowly, hand trembling. Thank you, I whispered. You earned it, she said. But I need to warn you, once you succeed, your family will come back around. They already tried today, I murmured. Then get ready, she said, because success doesn't just change your life, it changes who tries to claim pieces of you. After the call, I stared at my reflection in the dark window. Same face, same body, same eyes, but not the same person. The version of me who waited for permission no longer existed. I went to bed with a strange calm, the kind that comes when the future finally feels like yours. Morning light barely grazed my curtains when the next blow landed. My phone rang. My father. I stared at the screen, debating whether to answer, but ignoring him wouldn't stop whatever storm was brewing. Hello? I said. His voice was hoarse. We got a letter, he said. A letter from who? The bank, he inhaled shakily. They're starting foreclosure procedures. Foreclosure? My breath hitched. Not because I felt guilt, but because it confirmed what I already knew. The collapse wasn't coming. It was here. We're losing the house, he said, and we don't have enough to stop it. I didn't speak. I couldn't trust my voice. Your mother is devastated, he continued. Maya is falling apart. She didn't know how deep we were in. Lies. She may not have known the numbers, but she definitely knew the pattern. We need your help, he whispered. Please. We're out of options. His voice cracked, and for the first time, I heard real fear in it. Not manipulation, not guilt-tripping. Fear. Why are you telling me this? I asked quietly. He hesitated. Because you're the only one who can fix this. There it was again. The invisible burden they kept trying to strap onto my shoulders. But this time, it didn't cling. It slid right off. I can't fix your decisions, I said. I can't pay off $700,000 because you didn't want to say no to Maya. I can't erase a forged signature. I can't undo your loan defaults. I can't absorb the fallout from choices I didn't make. But we're your parents, he whispered. And I'm your daughter, I said, not your retirement plan. Silence. Thick, heavy, then a small broken sound. My father crying. I had never heard him cry in my entire life. Suddenly my mother's voice joined the call, soft, trembling, desperate. Please, she begged. We'll listen to you this time. We'll trust you. Just please don't let us lose everything. I closed my eyes. This was the moment, the crossroads. The version of me they raised would have folded, would have apologized for their choices, would have sacrificed everything to save them. But the version sitting here now, she had learned something the hard way. You cannot save people by burning yourself alive. You didn't listen before, I said. Not when I asked for help, not when I asked for respect, not when I set boundaries. We're listening now, my mother cried. But only because you're scared, I answered softly. And I can't be your solution to a problem you created, my father exhaled shakily. So, you're really not going to help us? I hesitated, not because I doubted my decision, but because once you say it out loud, it becomes real. No, I whispered, not like this. Then what are we supposed to do? My mother sobbed. What happens to us? And here it was, the moment where the old me would break, would rush in, would rescue them. But the new me, she understood something vital. They weren't asking for help. They were asking for control. You'll figure it out, I said. Just like you expected me. 2. My father's breath caught. My mother cried harder. Maya's faint voice echoed in the background, panicked and pleading, and I ended the call. Not out of cruelty, out of survival. I set the phone down and stared at the sunrise filtering through my window. Bright, unapologetic, blinding. And for the first time, I didn't feel responsible for fixing the world behind me. I felt responsible for building the one in front of me. But just when I thought the worst was behind me, my phone buzzed one more time. A new text from Sienna. Ooh, car, Sienna, call me ASAP. Something came up. A cold chill shot up my spine. Because sometimes when you choose yourself, the universe tests how badly you meant it. When your phone lights up with the message, call me ASAP, something came up from the one person who just offered you the chance to rewrite your entire future. Your breath doesn't just catch, it stops. I stared at the screen for a full 3 seconds before dialing, each ring pounding through my chest like a countdown I didn't remember setting. On the 4th ring, Sienna picked up, but her voice wasn't calm, confident, or composed like before. It was sharp, rushed, urgent. Where are you right now? She asked. At home, I said slowly. Why? What? Don't speak to anyone until I finish. My stomach dropped. Okay. Did you tell anyone you were applying to our incubator? She asked. No, I said. Not a single person, not even your family? Especially not them. A beat of silence. Then someone called our office pretending to be you. My blood went cold. What? They asked for details about your acceptance, then demanded to know the funding timeline. Who is it? I breathed. We traced the number, she said. It came from your parents' house. The room spun. Not slowly, violently, like the ground had turned to ice beneath me and the world tilted without permission. I gripped the table to steady myself. They pretended to be me? Yes, she said, and they weren't subtle. They said your name, your birth date. They insisted they were the real you and that you accidentally filled out the application wrong. My breathing grew thin, sharp, like inhaling needles. Why would they? Because, Sienna said, they tried to claim your opportunity before you could. I sat down slowly, afraid my legs would collapse. So what does this mean? Sienna exhaled. We flagged the call as suspicious, but you need to understand something. Your family isn't just financially unstable. They're panicking. People do reckless things when they are drowning. My pulse hammered in my ears. What do I do? You protect yourself, she said. No names, no documents, no unsecured calls, and if they show up at your door, you do not open it. I swallowed, hard. Are you still accepting me? I whispered. You're in, she said firmly. If anything, this confirms you're the one who belongs with us. Relief hit me, followed immediately by dread. My parents weren't just falling apart, they were dragging claws on the way down. After the call ended, the silence in my apartment felt lethal. Not peaceful, not comforting, but the kind of quiet that warns you a storm is seconds away. And then the knock came. Not soft, not hesitant, violent, repeated, urgent. My heart vaulted into my throat. I didn't move. Not yet. Then a voice pierced through the door, hoarse, frantic, trembling. Open the door. My father. Another voice, my mother, thinner, sharper, unraveling from the inside. We know you talked to someone. We know you're planning something. Open this door right now. My hands shook, not with fear, with disbelief, with dread, with the horrifying realization that they weren't here for reconciliation. They were here for access, control, money. I know you can hear us, my father shouted. We need to talk. We deserve to know what's going on, my mother cried. Then Maya's voice, terrified. Please, just open up. We're losing everything. I backed away from the door, pulse roaring. No, they wouldn't. They couldn't. Then the doorknob rattled violently. They were trying to open it. Mum, Dad, stop! Maya cried. You can't force her. We're her parents, my dad roared. We have a right to know. That one sentence snapped something inside me so fast I could have sworn I heard it break. I took a breath so deep it felt like oxygen was slicing through my ribs. And then I walked to the door. Not to open it, but to make sure they heard every word with perfect clarity. "Step away from my home," I said, voice cold, steady, deadly calm. Silence. Thick, horrified. "Honey," my mother whispered, "we're scared." "I am too," I said, "but not of losing money. I'm scared of how far you're willing to go to drag me down with you." My father exhaled shakily. "We weren't dragging you, we just..." "You forged my name," I said. "You tried to take my opportunity before I even had it. You're not protecting me, you're hunting me." My mother broke into sobs. "We made a mistake." "You made a series of choices," I corrected, "and now you're facing the consequences." "Please," my father whispered. "Without your help, we're going to lose everything." "Everything except the one thing you were willing to sacrifice," I said. "Me?" Maya finally spoke, voice cracking. "I didn't know they called your incubator. I swear I didn't. Please believe me." I believed her. For once, she wasn't lying. She sounded shattered, broken in a way privilege had never allowed her to be before. "I do believe you," I said softly, "but this isn't about you anymore. This is about them." My mother put her palm against the door. "We're begging you." "Begging doesn't erase the damage," I said, "and it doesn't oblige me to fix it." "So you're really going to let us lose the house?" my father asked, voice hollow. I closed my eyes. "I'm going to let you keep what belongs to you," I said. "Your debts, your choices, your consequences." A long silence. Long enough for the weight of truth to settle. Long enough for the old version of me, the version who would have opened that door, to fade. When my father finally spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. "You're not the daughter we raised." I felt that sentence slice through the air. Cruel, manipulative, desperate. I answered with the calmest voice I've ever used. "You're right," I said. "I'm the daughter I became despite how you raised me." My mother sobbed again. My father cursed under his breath. Maya cried quietly, and then slowly, their footsteps faded. Down the porch, down the walkway, into the night. I didn't move until I heard the car engine start, reverse, and disappear into the distance. When the silence finally settled again, I sank onto the floor, pressing a trembling hand over my mouth. Not crying, not shaking, just breathing through the weight of everything that had finally broken. The past, the illusions, the roles I used to play. And then my phone buzzed once more. A message from Sienna. "Sienna, your contract is ready. Welcome to the program. Tomorrow your new life begins." I let out a long, slow breath, the kind that feels like stepping into a new universe. But even as relief washed over me, a second thought crept in. A colder one. Because families like mine don't just disappear after being told no. They regroup, they scheme, they escalate, and somewhere deep in my bones, I felt it. This wasn't the final fallout. This was only the quiet before the next storm.